12, mile 161. Step 1, hike 2.5 miles to Appalachian Gap and hitch into Waitsfield for a half day off and full resupply. Appalachian Gap, or App Gap, is on Route 17, which climbs past Mad River Glen Ski Resort and goes between Stark and Baby Stark Mountains before descending into Starksboro. I aim to head into town and be back on trail the same evening. I was on pace to finish in plenty of time, but still wanted to keep up the pace. I didn't quite catch the 5 a.m. sunrise, but the views from Stark's Nest early in the morning were second to none. I enjoyed my time with a roof over my head, but needed to head north. The less time on trail, the more time relaxing in town. There was a series of cool rebar ladders on the backside of Mount Ellen that made for some fun hiking and filming. I made it to App Gap and really didn't feel like trying to hitch in. It seemed like a tough location on a tight bend in the road at the top of the mountain pass. I called Trail Angel Bill, and 30 minutes later he showed up with a ride into town. Class act by him. I resupplied and got a fried buffalo chicken sandwich for dinner before hitching back to the trailhead. Back on the trail. Alright, well that was a pretty good resupply in Waitsfield, Vermont. Got like 3.5 days worth of food. Got the best buffalo fried chicken sandwich I've ever had. It was so good. And now I'm hiking about 2.5 miles north to the next hut, the next cabin for tonight, and I'm gonna stay there and then restart in the morning. So just made it to this awesome view though. You can see Burnt Rock Mountain and Camel's Hump here in the background. There's Camel's Hump right there. So that's what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow. Basically just up and over these ridges here, just keep a roller coaster in it all the way to Canada. I had mixed emotions that day. This was the day I enrolled in a wilderness first responder course in July in Charlotte, North Carolina. I decided it was possible that I'd take guiding to the next level in some sort of way, and that had really been on my mind. I was also grateful of Tanner from Massachusetts, who was on his way to a 2-week-long log cabin building course nearby and gave me a ride to the trailhead. I wound down at the shelter and tried going to sleep early. Alright, I gotta do this one walking. I gotta keep going, but it's 5:57 in the morning. I got up at like 4:45, hiking by 5:30. It's supposed to be super hot today, so I'm trying to get a bunch of hiking done before the sun. This is probably one of, if not the hardest section of the trail. There's a couple of mountains to climb like I was talking about before. There's Camel's Hump. There's also, on the last day of this resupply, is Mount Mansfield, which is the highest point in the state. That's quite the 4-day jaunt there with those mountains. So it's gonna be up and down. Tons of elevation gain and lost. Gotta start off strong and hope I can power through some of the heat today. Day 13, mile 166. The northern mountains were looming in the distance. Burnt Rock, Ethan Allen, Camel's Hump, Bolton, and Mount Mansfield all in the next 4-day resupply. I had made enough mistakes up until now and pushed through them all to feel like I could do anything. That being said, this trail was not easy. A worker at the grocery store in Irisville said I had only got a small bite of true Vermont hiking up until now, and was yet to see the steepest trails. I couldn't sleep that night due to mosquitos. The temperature never really got below 75 and very little wind, if any. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning after 4 hours of disturbed sleep, just started walking. Burnt Rock Mountain was a warm-up to Camel's Hump that day and gave me some cool shots along with the idea for the intro to the series. I was so happy to witness the views and experience this trail on a clear day. Alright, we're getting closer to Camel's Hump. I think I drop a couple 100 feet into this little ridge right here, this bottom part of the ridge. Then I climb like 1,300 feet up to Camel's Hump, but it's getting closer. It was difficult mentally hiking downhill right before the next peak 3 times in a row. Hiking down 500 feet just to go back up another 1,000 feet. Then you realize that's just how the mountains crumble. If you're gonna hike across the whole state, that's just what you have to expect. Sometimes it's difficult to not constantly zoom in on the elevation profile of the next 5 miles in Gaia. I try to refrain from micromanaging my hike. I rested at Montclair Glen Lodge before the last push up Camel's Hump. That's where I just came from, down here. This is just like climbing. Just a vertical rock wall, it's like climbing. The Native Americans in this area first named this mountain Saddle Mountain. Samuel de Champlain's explorers called it Resting Lion in the 1600s. Ira Allen used Camel's Rump on a 1798 map, and this became Camel's Hump Mountain in 1830. The park was a 1,000-acre gift from Colonel Battelle. It must be the original trail up the mountain because it's a straight-up rock staircase. The view at the top was breathtaking and totally worth it. This is killer. This is no joke. Not an easy trail at all. Probably one of the more difficult days, if not the most difficult day, going up and over Camel's Hump. But I'm like a mile from the next shelter, so I'm gonna check that out for a campsite. I got into camp after a long day out on trail with very little sleep. A heat wave was incoming and I needed to eat, hydrate, and rest. I heard a critter outside my tent every once in a while, but it didn't bother me too much.